This is the VOA Special English Technology Report. India could pass the United States in the number of Internet users in less than 2 years. A new report says India reached 112 million users in September. India is the third largest Internet market after China and the United States. China reported 485 million Internet users in June, and there are 245 million in the United States. The Internet and Mobile Association of India says Internet growth was especially strong among people in smaller towns and cities. There was also a large increase in Internet use among school-aged children and college students. This is partly because of the growing number of e-learning services and educational websites. Subho Roy is president of the Internet and Mobile Association of India. He says another big change this year is that more and more people are using the Internet from home, and not just at cyber cafes or offices. People are probably buying their own broadband connections and accessing it from their own devices rather than going to common service points. This growth in Internet use has also led, not surprisingly, to an increase in online businesses. Deepinder Goyal owns Zomato.com. His website provides information about restaurants and nightlife activities across India. Mr. Goyal got the idea for Zomato while working at a consulting firm 3 years ago. He and his co-workers kept restaurant menus in their office so they could order lunch from different places. We scanned these menu cards and put them online. So starting an Internet venture was actually an experiment, and it worked out really well. And currently, we are getting around 2 million people just looking up menu cards on our website every month. Zomato now provides information on more than 17,000 restaurants across India. It covers areas from the Delhi National Capital Region to Mumbai, Bangalore, and Chennai. Deepinder Goyal says Zomato used to depend mostly on business people going online at work, often to order lunch. But now, with the rise in home use, weekends are also very heavy traffic for us. In a separate report, GSMA, the global trade group for the mobile industry, says Africa is the world's fastest growing mobile phone market. Africa has the second largest number of mobile phone connections after Asia. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex
This is the VOA Special English Technology Report. The government in India is defending itself against charges of internet censorship. The move comes after the government last week asked companies like Facebook and Twitter to block more than 300 websites. Officials accused the websites of posting edited images and videos of earthquake victims. They said the websites falsely claimed that the images were Muslim victims caught in recent ethnic conflict in India's northeastern Assam state and Burma. A number of the images were reportedly uploaded from Pakistan. Officials said the panic that resulted caused thousands of Hindu immigrants to flee the area. They feared that Muslims would answer the false reports with attacks of their own. Lawyer Pawan Duggal says this is the first time internet and mobile phone technology have been used to create fear in a community. He says India has to make cybersecurity the top concern for the nation. Unfortunately, India does not even have a national cybersecurity policy, he says, and there is no plan should this kind of emergency happen again. Pawan Duggal also thinks India needs an army of its own cyber warriors. On Friday, India's Communication and Information Technology Minister dismissed claims that the government is trying to censor social media. But he did say misuse of social media has to be stopped. Pranesh Prakash is with the Center for Internet and Society, based in Bangalore. He says some of the web pages that have been blocked include official news websites. He says the current case appears to call for some action, but he thinks the government has gone too far. He says the effort is limiting good news reporting. Pranesh Prakash also says some of the websites were uploaded by people trying to let others know that the images were false. The government in India has called on social media companies to come up with a plan to keep offensive material off the web. Last year, it passed a law that requires companies to remove so-called objectionable content when requested to do so. A Google report says that last year, India topped the list of countries that make such requests. Supporters of online freedom have expressed concern that India may be restricting use of the web. About 100 million people in India use the internet. That is the third most in the world. For VOA Learning English,
This
I'm
is
Laurel
the
Bowman.
VOA Special English Development Report. Sending and receiving money by text message, sharing crop prices, just talking to a loved one far from home. These are some of the ways that mobile phones have changed lives in developing countries. Another way is through e-health, electronic health services. One example is a telephone hotline in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Callers can receive information about family planning and the prevention of unwanted pregnancies. They are able to speak privately with trained operators about birth control methods and about health clinics. The nonprofit group Population Services International and a partner launched the service in 2005. The United States Agency for International Development finances the program, and an agreement with the Vodacom company makes the service free to callers. We talked with Jamaica Corker on her cell phone at the Population Services International Office in the DRC. She said, "The hotline has given us an opportunity to take advantage of cell phone technology to reach people outside of our intervention zone with family planning messaging. The hotline allows them to call in no matter where they are and to ask us the information that we can provide." Jamaica Corker says more than 20,000 people called the hotline in 2008. More than 80% were men. She says this is mainly because men own most of the phones. The group also has family planning hotlines in Benin and Pakistan, and it is launching a mobile phone program to gather records on condom sales around Tanzania. The journal Health Affairs recently published an issue on e-health in the developing world. Editor Susan Dentzer says, e-health is improving lives in different ways. For example, in Rwanda, cell phone-based technologies are being used to keep track of drugs given to patients with HIV. Rwanda is at the leading edge of developing nations in using these technologies to advance health and health care. In South Africa, a campaign of text messages about HIV led to a large increase in calls to the National AIDS Helpline. And a program in Peru sends text messages to patients with HIV, reminding them to take their medicines. And that's the VOA Special English Development Report. Tell us about e-health services where you are. You can share ideas and find our programs at voaspecialenglish.com.
This is the VOA Special English Development Report. Mobile phones have revolutionized the way people connect, not only with family and friends, but also business services. A good example: services that let people use their phones to send and receive money. Two companies, Safaricom and Vodafone, launched the M-Pesa mobile money service in Kenya in 2007. Pesa means money in Swahili. The service operates much like a savings bank, which is important because plenty of Kenyans do not have bank accounts. Most of the early users were young men who worked in cities and wanted to send money home to rural areas. Now, customers can also use their M-Pesa accounts to pay bills, make purchases, or pay for services like taxis. Users pay a small amount for each transaction. Stephen Mbagua has a farm a half-hour's drive from the capital. He uses M-Pesa to receive money from his son and to pay bills. He says, "I used to go to Nairobi or to any bank to pay my bill, but now I don't go to Nairobi, I just pay my bill from here." Some businesses use the service to pay their employees. All across Kenya, there are stores and automated teller machines where M-Pesa users can add and withdraw money from their accounts. People can also transfer money to other mobile phone users, even those without an M-Pesa account. The other person receives a text message with a code to take to the local M-Pesa agent to get the money. All this pleases 22-year-old Philister Omari. She says, "It's very fast. The M-Pesa, they're available everywhere. So once you are going somewhere, you can drop, get some cash, and proceed." M-Pesa is improving economic conditions for many Kenyan families. British-based Vodafone has also teamed with local companies to offer the service in Uganda and Afghanistan. Safaricom says nearly 8 million people in Kenya now use M-Pesa. That number is expected to grow as more people use mobile phones. A recent report predicted that the number of mobile phone accounts worldwide will reach almost 4.5 billion this year. That is 12% more than last year and equal to 2/3 of the world's population. The report was from the European Information Technology Observatory. The group says the strongest growth in mobile phone use now comes from newly industrialized and developing countries. And that's the VOA Special English Development Report. This is the VOA Special English Development Report. A new report says the illegal killing of rhinos for their horns is increasing in Africa and Asia. Rhinoceros poachers are killing an estimated 2 to 3 of the rare animals each week. Experts say demand in Asia, especially Vietnam and China, currently drives most trade in rhino horns from southern Africa. The horns are often used to make traditional medicines or handles for dagger knives. The report is from the International Union for the Conservation of Nature and an organization known as Traffic. Most African rhino poaching is in Zimbabwe and South Africa. Experts found that 210 rhinos were illegally killed in South Africa in the last 3 years. The estimate for Zimbabwe is 235. The situation threatens gains made in its rhino populations in the 1990s. In the last 2 years, only 6 people were found guilty of poaching charges out of 41 arrested. In 2001, 68% of African rhino horns entering illegal trade were recovered. 8 years later, 9 out of 10 rhino horns were heading to Asian markets without interference. The report says poaching and illegal horn trade has increased in South Africa, even with new measures against it. Adding to the problem, poachers today are more skilled at killing rhinos, and not only with guns. They also use quieter methods like drugs, poison, and crossbows. An international agreement on protecting endangered animals and plants provides for sport hunting of white rhinos in Africa, but the horns often enter illegal markets. Not all the news is bad, however. The report notes that rhino populations are increasing in some areas. These include both white rhinos and black rhinos in the wild in Africa. Africa had an estimated 17,000 white rhinos and 4,000 black rhinos as of 2 years ago. Current estimates for Asia are around 3,000 rhinos. But even with poaching, growth is reported in some areas of India and Nepal. Wildlife activists are urging governments to do more to fight rhino poaching. The report was presented to the organization known as CITES. CITES is the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora. The next conference of countries that are parties to the agreement is in March in Doha, Qatar. And that's the VOA Special English Development.
This is the VOA Special English Development Report. Agricultural experts have launched a land and water management project in the Middle East. The project seeks to increase food security in dry areas. Researchers say The water availability in some of the areas has dropped well below the internationally recognized standard. Egypt, Iraq, Jordan, Lebanon, the West Bank, Syria, and Yemen are all taking part in the project. It is part of a larger 10-year effort called the Water and Livelihoods Initiative. The project is also expected to increase household income for farmers in the areas. The United States Agency for International Development provided $1 million for the Water and Livelihoods Initiative. Scott Christensen is an agricultural development advisor with USAID. He helped develop the project while working for the International Center for Agricultural Research in the dry areas. He says the countries taking part in the project were all carefully selected. He said they all share a socio-economic and cultural history. Research by the International Center for Agricultural Research in the dry areas and its partners has already proven to be successful. New irrigation methods are expected to double wheat production while using 1/3 of the water required for full irrigation. Experts say the new methods also increase crop production up to 5 times more than crops that depend on rainfall only. The International Center for Agricultural Research in the dry areas will provide technical support for the project. Officials from the International Water Management Institute and the International Food Policy Research Institute are also taking part in the effort. Each team will be joined by experts from local research institutions, universities, and government agencies. Scott Christensen said his group has good partnerships among the countries so that they can learn lessons from each other and work together effectively. He and other officials met in Amman, Jordan in February. They attended an international conference on food security and climate change in dry areas. Nearly 1/4 of the world's people live in these areas. Officials say more must be done to deal with water shortages in agriculture. If not, they say, the future of food security, economic development, and social stability in dry areas will be put at risk. And that's the VOA Special English
This is the
Development
VOA
Report.
Special English Development Report. An eye care organization in India has been honored for its efforts to treat the poor and prevent blindness. Aravind Eye Care System received the Conrad N. Hilton Humanitarian Prize. The award was presented in Redwood City, California, during a conference of the Global Philanthropy Forum. Conrad Hilton, who made his wealth in the hotel industry, established the Humanitarian Prize in 1996. Each year, the award is given to a charitable or non-governmental organization working to end human suffering. The prize includes $1.5 million. Aravind Eye Care System was recognized for its work with millions of people in India. Retired eye surgeon Govindappa Venkataswamy established the organization in 1976. He wanted to make high-quality eye care available to all, especially India's poor. He wanted to prevent needless cases of blindness. 8 out of 10 people with vision problems live in developing countries. The World Health Organization says 85% of all vision problems could be prevented or cured. That includes 75% of all blindness. An estimated 45 million people are blind, and India is home to 10 million of them. Dr. Venkataswamy established the first Aravind Eye Hospital in Madurai in Tamil Nadu state with only 11 beds. Today, Aravind Eye Care System is the largest eye care provider in the world. It operates 5 hospitals and more than 30 eye care centers across India. About 70% of the patients receive free care. The money comes from the 30% of patients who can pay for their services. In 1992, Aravind established what was described as Asia's first training center for the prevention of blindness. Support from the Sight First program of Lions Club International financed the Lions Aravind Institute of Community Ophthalmology. Also, the Aravind Medical Research Foundation investigates the causes and treatment of eye disease. Aravind Eye Care System has been recognized internationally. Its work has been used as a model for establishing similar programs around the world. And that's the VOA Special English Development Report. Transcripts, MP3s, and podcasts are at voaspecialenglish.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and iTunes at VOA Learning English.